Hello, my name is Moni and I am the founder of Feng Shui for Us and the creator of the 9 Steps to Feng Shui system. Today I am going to show you how to create a Feng Shui cure to heal your relationship with your mother. The first thing that I'm going to ask you to do is to get 4 pieces of paper and some crayons, color pencils, or simply a pen or a pencil. You are going to draw a picture of your mother, but the way you would have drawn it when you were in kindergarten or first grade. So you can do a stick figure. So this is a drawing that I have made of my mother. So you're going to draw a picture of your mother on a piece of paper, and then you are gonna cut it out. In my case, I'm not gonna cut it out because I'm doing it on the computer so I can record it as I create it. But in your case, you're gonna draw a picture of your mother on one piece of paper. Don't make it so big that it will occupy the whole piece of paper. And then you're gonna cut it out as if it was a paper doll. On the second piece of paper, you are going to draw what your mother's life was like in actuality. When she got together with your father, either that they got married or started living together or simply having a relationship. So my mother met my father when she was only 14 years old and he was 19, and they got married by the time she was 17, almost 18 years old. So when my mother married my father, the whole family approved, and they approved because he met all the requirements that my mother says she always wanted in a man. One of the things my mother liked about my father, and I'm going to make a drawing of my father here. One of the things that she liked about him was that he did not drink, smoke, or use drugs. This was very important to her because her own father drank a lot and created a lot of, he partied a lot, and so he created a lot of unnecessary strife for his family because of his drinking. So she wanted a man without vices, and when she married my father, he didn't smoke, he didn't drink, he didn't have any vices. The only problem with him was that he was a womanizer, but my mother believed that she would change him. A few years after they got married, my father started smoking. He started drinking, and in fact, later on would become an alcoholic. And he also started gambling. My mother thought that my father would stop cheating on her once they were married. But he always cheated on her. He had cheated on her with other women while they were dating. He cheated on her with another gal the night before they got married, and he continued on to cheat with numerous women throughout their marriage until my brother and I were teenagers, and that's when AIDS came about. And my father was more afraid of this illness than he desired to be with other women. So only when he was afraid of AIDS, he stopped cheating on my mother. Now, my mother wanted a man that was solvent. My paternal grandmother, my father's mother, was very wealthy. She owned a mail order business and she provided services, and she had made a lot of money. She had property, she traveled a lot. And my father, even as a very young man, he also had his own mail order business and he made a lot of money. One of my uncles tells me that when my parents were first married, it rained money. There was a lot of money coming in. Most of the money that my father made, he squandered or lost in bad investments. A little bit of that money he invested on giving my mother her own business. And this was a pre-press business or desktop publishing business that was done at the time with some specialized electronic typewriters. My mother was able to have a successful business of her own that she could run from home. As soon as my mom became successful, my father stopped working and said he was going to write a book on self-help and that he needed to do a lot of research. This research was done in bars, casinos, and discotheques, which he said provided a very raw example of how people really acted. So my mother ended up supporting the household and eventually also supporting my father's vices, giving him money to buy cigarettes, money to go partying and drinking with other people. My mother had dreamed of a middle-class life where she would have a large house in a nice neighborhood. With part of his inheritance, my father bought a lot of land in a very posh neighborhood, one of the most exclusive neighborhoods in town. But this was a small, unfinished house surrounded by mansions. My mother had also dreamed that they would have cars. And they did have cars, at least one, or sometimes two, three cars. There was always a sports car, which for a long time my father used to pick up girls. My mother had wanted to have 4 or 5 children, but she had so many problems with my father in the few years of marriage, especially because of his infidelity. Whenever she complained about his infidelity, he threatened with leaving her, and she thought that she couldn't live without him. So after she had 2 kids, my brother and I, she decided she was not going to have any more, not the 4 or 5 that she had always dreamed that she would have, because she was afraid that she would end up as a single mother having to support her children, and it seemed a lot easier to support 2 than it seemed to support 5. And even though my father did not leave her, she ended up supporting the household. People tell me that my mother was very smart, very talkative, very assertive, and opinionated. But I never saw much of that because by the time I have memories of her, she had already changed. My father had her disconnect from all of her friends one by one, and over the years he also had her disconnect from her family members. And so little by little she was left isolated with nobody but him and the children she took care of. My father also created situations with my mother's customers. One by one, he forbid my mother from serving this client or this other client until she was left with only 2 clients from once having had a very successful business. These 2 clients were Catholic priests, and eventually they got their own pre-press desktop publishing people and equipment at their facilities. So my mother's business had to close. After about a decade of not working, my father did start a new business. He was one of the first people to see the potential of Chinese imports. So he had an import agency, and he made quite a bit of money from that with very little work. Most of that money he used in cars, travel, and partying. But as he grew older and my mother's business was dwindling, he did save some of that money, but he did not have any income. So what they ended up doing is they built a small, tiny studio apartment off to the side of their larger home, and so they could live there and rent out the larger home so that they could have a retirement income. So as you can see, the life that my mother ended up having was nothing like the life that she had expected to have when she married my father. So what I did, this is the first part of the Feng Shui cure you are creating, to draw with stick figures, very simple drawings. They don't have to make sense to anybody, not even to you, as long as you draw them and do the exercise. To draw the life that your mother actually had. And then I had pre-drawn this for you, so the video doesn't take too long. I drew the life that my mother expected that she would have. She had expected that she would have a large house, perhaps a mansion in a posh neighborhood, and she would have the cars that she did get to have, but maybe more luxurious cars than what she got to have. She always loved clothes and accessories and especially shoes, and she had expected she would travel a lot. She thought once they got married, my father would be faithful to her and that she would have 5 children and that they would be very, very happy and very, very successful. She wanted a life where she would probably work a little, maybe help my father with his business, maybe have some income of her own, but she never had expected she would have to support the household. And so this is the life that my mother dreamed of having. That is the third drawing you're going to be making. So remember, the first drawing is that of your mother, which you're going to cut out. The second drawing is of the life your mother had, the way you see it. The third drawing is the life that your mother had dreamed that she would have when she met your father. And the fourth drawing is of what your mother's life might have been. Some alternative life experience that she may have had based on what you know about her. So one thing I know about my mother is that she was a very good student, and she earned, on her senior year, she earned a scholarship to go study economics in Switzerland. It was a full scholarship. All she needed to get was the fee for the airplane voyage, which would not have been hard for her mother to do at that time. However, my mother was so madly in love with my father and she was so afraid she would lose him to another woman that she didn't even graduate from high school, thereby making a statement about her future that she would not be a professional. So she rejected this scholarship to study economics in Switzerland in order to get married, and she couldn't even wait. She was a month and a half away from graduating high school when she quit high school. So an alternate life that my mother might have had is that she might have gone to Europe to study economics and become a professional. She might have married somebody else, perhaps a guy from Europe that respected her very much and loved her very much. She might have had a business of her own or be employed with a very good job. She might have experienced a relationship of equality. And being a feminist at heart, she might have chosen to not have kids, to have one kid, to have a few kids, the 4 or 5 kids she wanted to have. But that would have been a more conscious choice, not a choice or an expectation she had from being raised in a community with such double standards as South America during the time she was growing up. And so, these are the 4 drawings you're going to make. Remember how you cut out the stick figure drawing of your mother that you made? And you are going to do what I did here virtually, and it's you're going to cut out the image of your mother and place it on top of the life that she had, that you drew, and then move it over to the life that she wished she had had, and then move it over to one of the alternate lives that she might have had. Then what you're going to do is you're going to stack the drawing that you made of the life she had, the drawing that you made of the life that she wished she had had, and the drawing of the life that you believe she could have had if there was an alternate possibility for her. You're going to stack these pieces of paper. Of course, because my drawings are transparent, you're seeing all of it here, but you're just going to stack one piece of paper over the other. And on top of that, you're going to place the picture of your mother. And you're going to keep this setup, the picture of your mother, on top of the drawings that you made. First of the life she had. So this is what you're going to see, because it's going to be a cutout image of your mother over the picture you drew of what her life was like. And then underneath that, you're going to have the life that she dreamed she would have and this alternative life she might have had. After you are finished with the drawings, you're going to keep this in your home near the center of the home, which represents Earth, which is related to the mother. And you're going to keep that for at least 24 full hours. And after that, you're going to take it to the recycling plant or the recycling collection site, or just take them to the place in your home where you put your recyclables before they are picked up. And you are going to say this affirmation: Mom, mother, mommy, whatever you called your mother, and you're going to use that same term, and you're going to say, Mom, I recognize that you had a right to be who you were and that you have a right to be who you are today. And then you are going to recycle these drawings that you made. This is a very powerful Feng Shui cure to heal the relationship with your mother. Now, I want to remind you that the advice I give you is not psychological, medical, or financial advice of any kind, and that I am also not discouraging to get any of the help that you might need. To learn more about this cure, if you have watched this video on my website, you will read more underneath it. Or if you are watching this on YouTube, please make sure to check the description and to click on the link that will take you to my website. If you like this video, check out my other videos and subscribe to this channel so that you can see my future videos. You can go to my website www.fengshuiforus.com, and at the top right corner of any page on my website you can sign up to receive my newsletter. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.